Priscilla Feral, I would like to share what your main focus is with your organization.
It's an animal advocacy organization that's pretty broad with respect to philosophical ideas and actual hands-on projects. So we have a marine animal rescue effort in Los Angeles, very hands-on, benefits seabirds that become entangled by fishing lines and sea lions that choke on garbage and are injured by the commercial fishing industry, really. So it's a service to them to rescue them, get them into treatment. We manage a primate sanctuary in San Antonio, Texas, where I go each month. And there are chimpanzees and hundreds of monkeys and birds from the exotic bird trade. So these are cast-offs, abandoned animals that ought to be in nature, of course, but because of the pet trade or the vivisection industry or animal entertainment industries, these animals are actually lucky enough to reach a sanctuary and be released from those kinds of prisons. That's different, of course, from a spay-neuter program for dogs and cats, and we had initiated that when the group was founded back in 1957. And we have vigorous campaigns to stop the hunting of wolves and coyotes and deer and moose and bears and just about everyone, and agitate against fur wearing. And so it's a perspective of not only vegan advocacy, which takes the form of cookbooks and other books and outreach efforts, but getting people to tune in the idea that we're not the center of the universe. We may be kind of a dominant, invasive species of sorts, but that our neighbors are other animals that are just trying to eke out a living. And if we can lessen the pressure that we put on them to give them room and to respect their lives, we can feel better about ourselves, be healthier people, and also share the earth with animals with whom we've co-evolved.
What do you say to somebody that grew up and felt that, well, we always hunted, and well, I think these animals are put here for us to use, and we have every right to have our venison and our whatever. How do you indoctrinate somebody, or begin to educate someone, I suppose I should say, that there is another way to think about it?
Well, you know, what I would like to say is that I think profound change is difficult, okay? I don't think it's easy, and I think it's wrong when you hear from the vegetarian pundits who say, oh, you can do this overnight, this is no big deal, the food is out there, just eat differently. I think, as you say, when habits are ingrained, who was raised vegetarian? I mean, I wasn't. But my beliefs today aren't the same as my beliefs when I was 13 or when I was 7 or 8, when I began to question food that was put on my plate. I wanted to know, was this a chicken, or was this like the duck that we had, pet ducks, you know? Was I eating animals that I thought were my friends? I mean, that occurred to me at a young age, but I was told the typical thing your grandmother tells you, a chicken doesn't know when its head is cut off, and they don't have brains, and it doesn't matter. The point is, I always questioned authority. I was raised that way, and I was a kid of the 60s.
I don't believe everything you read.
Yeah, that pushed the envelope and wanted radical change and wanted to be part of a feminist movement and part of a human rights movement. So when I hear people say that, you know, they indicate they've never made any change in their lives, and they're saying, how do you expect me to do this now? I expect everybody of any age to stretch and to take risks and to learn new things and to be part of this culture, to never give up on this culture. So learning something new, I mean, I would hope next year I'm going to be more informed about something than I was last year. And it's leaving your heart open and your head open, and just so that you're receiving information and you're trying to better your life and better the earth, that we're only here for a short time with. I mean, the truth is, and as I get older, I know this more and more, life is very short. So make it count and try to stand for something. And when we leave Earth, then maybe we'll have fewer regrets. You know, you can look back and say, look, I took a lot and my footprint was pretty large, but I tried to give something back. So when people say, how do I stop eating deer meat, or stop this you know, attitude that I've been raised with, it's just the willingness to learn something more, to change. And I think that you have to work on what that means for living. And it means changing the way you go about your routines. You know, we all have kind of quick ways we get through our weeks and our days. Habits that we repeat time and time again, and it means we have to work less. It's simply, you know, getting started and then ending the day. You have to work harder at that to make profound changes. And I think your eating habits and how you dress yourself, right? How you project your morality and your personality, all of those things, these are profound changes. So we have to work at them. But you have to be willing to say, I can grow.
And many times people will say, well, I could never give up this or give up that. I didn't have the feeling I was giving anything up. I felt that I was just simply choosing other foods. And as a result, I felt better than I did before.
Yeah.
What was your experience?
The experience started in San Francisco back in 1970, I guess, when I was there for a year and I was cooking a lot and I was entertaining a lot of people from Berkeley and people that had bizarre diets, like brown rice diets and nothing more.
I remember those.
And I'm at a beach and I'm hearing a song that a singer called Melanie was singing about, I don't eat the animals and they don't eat me. And I'm on this beach and I'm looking up at a hillside and there are cows. And that night I was serving beef fondue and to a host of people. And I remember, you know, the resistance, and I put that fondue fork into this piece of cow flesh, and I put it in the oil, and I tried to put it in my mouth and swallow it, and I was choking. And I realized I've got the body of this animal that belongs on that hillside, or if wherever it belongs, it shouldn't be in my mouth. And so it was an enlightenment that then changed my view of what food was. And I knew I didn't want to eat an animal anymore with 4 legs, and that meant, you know, it was this withdrawal. I wasn't aware of a vegetarian movement or an organization, but I said, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to support a system of that kind of crime. And I also felt like my body was a graveyard, and I didn't want it to be the repository for these animals that have been sacrificed. So, I mean, is that a whole lot of emotion going on? Of course it was. But it wasn't imposed on me. No one motivated me. I was conscious.
You woke up.
That's what I woke up. That's what the change was about. And was I giving something up? Oh, rapidly, because I was freaked. That's the truth of it. Years later, I figured out the whole picture about eggs and dairy, and so that wasn't all given up at once.
Right.
The awareness was gradual.
Exactly.
And the hardest thing to stop doing was buying the so-called free-range eggs, because I liked cooking with them. That's the truth of it. I was a cook, right? And I thought, this seems like a sacrifice. I mean, the truth is, you know, were there replacements for eggs? Yes. In every single case, no. And I was fine with it. You know, your mind, it's a matter of accepting something in a way where you don't feel robbed. And I felt strongly, and of course still do, that these are industries that are so revolting in terms of what they're doing to our environment, how the hellish treatment animals have from their births to their deaths, and also one's health. But really, my health was the last priority, because this all started when I was a young person and I felt invincible.
Exactly.
Now I'm grateful for the benefits I've had, I think, through decades of having such a better diet than kind of the average person. So I think it's paid off.
So how did that
enormously.
then bring you to Friends of Animals?
Well, I arrived at Friends of Animals in 1974 and commuted to New York. And, you know, when I saw the range of programs, I was already a lacto-ovo vegetarian, so that fit in. And then it took me really years until 1992, January 92, before I became a committed vegan. So, you know, and looking back, I'd say I wish I had done it quicker, but it was years in the making. And when I finally put together the facts as they are, I thought, oh my word, if I had known this earlier, it would have happened earlier.
Really pleased at how many supermarkets and farmers markets and other kinds of outlets, certainly online, that you can really research and not only that, but obtain products.
Oh, and in North America, we're spoiled. Oh, good heavens. I'm traveling to Africa, and will I find soy milk there? Maybe not. But, you know, I know how to eat vegetables and fruit and rice, of course, and I'm not going to complain a minute about it.
Yeah, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
You have some cookbooks.
This is the best of vegan cooking, and it was published in 2009. We reprinted it recently because it had a good first run. The first cookbook was Dining with Friends, The Art of North American Vegan Cuisine. We reprinted that and then got to add a chapter from a chef friend on gluten-free vegan baking. So
Great. Well, that's fabulous.
that's fun.
And this can be purchased online or on your site or on
Oh, yeah.
Amazon, whatever.
On Amazon or at Friends of Animals site, and it does still appear in some booksellers.
Okay. What is the website of the organization? Yes.
friendsofAnimals.org.
FriendsofAnimals.org.
Right.
We have to remember the ORG.
Yeah.
Then also, what is the definition of animal rights?
I think it's an attitude of respect toward other animals. If you have respect for free-living moose or wolves in Alaska, the appropriate treatment will follow, meaning you're going to respect their space and their interests and their needs for eking out a living. We're not going to develop all of the land that other animals need for habitat, for their own survival. We're not going to intrude on them constantly, use them as targets or pelts for fur wearing, what have you. And as far as so-called farm animals are concerned, they don't need to be bred into existence. So if you respect a cow or a chicken or a duck, what have you, that's been domesticated so that we can consume them in their lives, we can simply pull back and not create these animals that have a hellish existence. Respect is what you extend to an animal is the right to survive and have some freedom. An animal like a horse on public land needs to stay on that land, not be rounded up, privatized, and to end up in the carriage horse trade in New York City, right? Or the racetracks, or what have you. That's what animal rights is about, is defining it for free-living animals and understanding that animals that were domesticated for our consumption don't need to exist.
You have really fought for this for a long time, and I just wanted to mention that you actually have won court cases. You are a nonprofit, which includes you exist on donations and grants, etc. And donations can be made on friendsofAnimals.org. What do you feel has been your most proud moment in working with the animals? I know that must be hard to think of one.
I don't have a one moment. I have to tell you that in general, I'm privileged to have found an organization that challenged me to think and work hard and use my heart. And people aren't so lucky trying to eke out their lives and a living, you know. I'm very lucky. There's a lot of stress involved from time to time. You know, when we've stopped a wolf hunt, this tremendously exhilarating. When you've had somebody tell you, thank you, you've meant a lot to me in my life. I like the way you've represented animal interests. I appreciate your cookbooks. I love the work you do. It's very gratifying to have people appreciate the resistance, the dissent, the agitation. You see, it's not always expressing things in a happy way. You know, as the founder of Friends of Animals told me when I was hired, I said, what's my job, Alice? She said, stir up a hornet's nest. and really it's true today. So what am I happiest about? It's the time when we can challenge people to entertain new ideas, to make arguments, to let ideas evolve. When I can see an animal rights idea evolve, when it gets tuned in, when I think that it's beginning to affect our culture, that's tremendously satisfying.
I can imagine. What do you most like to eat?
You know, some people have the opportunity to eat in a lot of great restaurants, and New York City is the vegan food capital of the world, I think.
Oh, it is.
All right, I've been to a lot of cities,
become
and I've
so.
had people say, oh, it's Portland, oh, no, it's New York. It's New York.
Yes.
So if you're in the New York metro area, you can choose 80 or more restaurants that are divine, you know, really divine. But for quick food, I mean, guacamole, I love it. I adore it. I love avocados. I love fresh vegetables. I love rice dishes. I love pasta dishes. I adore pasta dishes, in fact. And with a somewhat of a minimum of sugar in food. I'm not saying I don't eat desserts. Of course I do. I cook them. I like them. But to concentrate on healthy food, like fresh fruit, to me, when cherries are out, I'm in heaven. And I know when summer begins and it ends because of being cherries. So I think you have to go to the markets more than once a week, right? Get food that's picked pretty fresh to really indulge in food that's wonderful. And then pick up a reliable cookbook where the recipes are readable and they're gonna pretty much, if you follow them, produce what you want. What people need is some cooking assistance. You know, they need to either watch a couple of cooking shows, right? Or take some classes. You know, then you feel competent. I can produce dinner inside of 30 minutes and I think make something that's equivalent to most any wonderful food I can find in a restaurant.
Yes.
And I'm not saying I don't think I have some brain-dead recipes. I think I do. But that's the advantage, is find some of these pasta and other recipes with fresh ingredients that are remarkable. And you can do them with ease. You can get home and you know you've got broccoli and you know you've got cauliflower and you always have Adalia onions and shallots. And you have some key ingredients in the house you can always use. And you can always grate a little bit of lemon zest. You need ingredients. You can't have empty refrigerators and cabinets and produce decent food. So go shopping once a week at least, right?
And most of the time there's another alternative, like if you don't have shallots, you can use onion.
Right.
Or if...
and make your own soup. I don't understand how anyone could eat a canned soup, but make soup and it lasts the next day. Make vegetarian chili and you've got it a couple of days. Give yourself a break where you're cooking a couple of times a week and you have food that can last the next day.
What do you eat for breakfast usually?
Well, usually cereal. except for weekends when we make jumbo muffins and pancakes and, you know, maybe a coffee cake, something different. But oatmeal a lot, other kinds of cereals. I love the coconut creamer that's out, or any of the soy creamers, so I use a little bit of that. Always fresh fruit, strawberries that are organic, because they're sprayed heavily, so I just get the organic ones. Blueberries, bananas. I've got loads of fruit in the house all the time. I mean, I suffer without it.
Yeah.
So I'm having fresh squeezed orange juice every day, insist on it. Coffee, cereal, and fruit.
people in a hurry, they can just slice up the orange and cut it in
Absolutely.
quarters and just bite it off,
Oh, yeah,
you know?
eat something for breakfast, and don't go to a Dunkin' Donuts to find it.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, people don't eat breakfast at home anymore. I can tell you that because of the people in our office that carry things to work with them. They don't, and yet it's a meal that's important, and you can prepare it quickly, and gets your metabolism going. If I can part with one idea, and that is for anyone, especially mothers who have kids, learn how to cook vegetables. This is lacking in our culture.
Yes, and you
know.
can cook them all the same.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite way to cook them?
Well, I love olive oil, so, you know, I look for the best olive oil. I always have loads of it on hand, but whether I'm making cauliflower or broccoli, you know, I'm usually using olive oil in some way, garlic, a shallot or a Vidalia onion, and then I go from there. So I'll do just about anything to a vegetable, from steaming it to stir frying it. But I think stir fries are delightful. Fresh ginger, you know, I've got a refrigerator that always is going to have fresh ginger. Then the flourishes are shiitake mushrooms and herbs, and I grow herbs.
Priscilla, thank you so much.
Thank you.